I'm Irene Wright, Irene Thelma Stone Wright. I was born in San Francisco, California, to Mary Clarice Jones Stone and to my father, Claude Victor Stone. I have a sister, Ruth, which is Ruth Mary Stone, and um, we lived there for about several years. I was Ruth's about 5 years, 4 years older than I am. We came when she was about 8 and I was about 3, right in there, 4 and 3, right in there. And anyway, we came here and to Salt Lake City. Uh, Mother had been working for her brother in California as a bookkeeper. She and Dad decided he wanted to come and become an elder, and they came. One of the purposes was to come and be sealed or be made an elder and go further on into the church. And my grandfather had the home on the corner of 6th North and 2nd West, and also properties west of that. We lived in one of the homes west of that, which he eventually gave to my, and I don't know when, gave to my mother as well as the home next to her, so she would have a rental uh, income. Why and if, I don't know the reasons on it, but that's how I grew up, was knowing that home only until I got married to Owen. I went to Washington Elementary. I had some great teachers. I went to kindergarten for a whole year, and then I went up to 6th grade with some great teachers. We just had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot of good things. And then from there, I went to middle school, what they call middle school now, which was Horace Mann High, junior high, I should say. And that was where I went to school for AU, which was 7th, and then 8th and 9th. Then I went to West High at in my junior and senior year for high school, and I had nothing but great response from, and I kept a fairly decent B average. So I ran for office in high school, and I was secretary of the school. I was voted secretary of the school. And then after that, I graduated and went to work. Actually, when I was in junior high school, my mother and dad got a divorce.
Okay.
And so Ruth and I were really close because mother had to go to work. Ruth was my leader.
Yeah.
And Ruth went to church. She played the organ, she played the piano. She never drank Coke. She wouldn't think of drinking Coke. I was drinking Daddy's foam off his beer at home when he would let me. I'd say I like the foam, but I don't like the other. She was 4 years ahead of me, so she kind of broke the ice for me all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And till I got to school in high school, everything was just fine. And I got into high school, and we had to take foods, and Rosser was her name. I'll never forget her. And she was my teacher, and she had been Ruth's teacher. And she said, and this is 4 years between, she says, "You're not related to Ruth Stone, are you?" And I said, "Yeah, she was my sister." And I never ever had a problem with teacher. I was really quite a good good student. I didn't slough. You know, Ruth would not eat her food that she cooked. She would not eat it. And Rosser said, "Well, I sure in heck hope you're nothing like your sister." And I remember that so clear. And Ruth does too, because I came home and told her that she sure left me a bad omen with my food teacher. So I was always kind of like a tag along. But we had our fights. Yeah, we had good fights. And then I caught her sloughing one time from school, and it was during the war. And I had gotten in and gotten her shoes. I mean, this was times where you had to have so many stamps to buy shoes. It was during the World War II. And she had bought these cute red shoes, darling red shoes, suede, moccasin. And I just fell in love with them. But she had her own closet that was her clothes, special clothes only, and it was always locked. Well, I found out how to get into it, and I stole those shoes. I borrowed those shoes. And went to school with them. And I always walked, but that day I had a token for some reason. I don't know how I got a token, but I probably got it from Mom, you know. I don't know. But I had a token for the bus ride. So when I thought I'm going to beat Ruth home from work, you know, and sure enough, she got on the bus just as I got, just as I was going to get, just as after the block after, it was the block I got on first and went over to where you could get off the trolley. It was a trolley, electric trolley, and they opened up the middle door, and I thought, I better sit here in case I have to hurry, you know, and get out, and everybody's going out the front door. So I thought, I'll sit right here, and then she got in, and she saw me, and she came back, and I had somebody sitting there with me, you know, so she couldn't sit and give me hell. She pointed to those red shoes, and I knew all hell had broke loose. And so with that door opened, and we both got off. She got off the front because she was up there sitting, and I was here, and I ran lickety-split all the way home. And I'll tell you, she really racked me over at the coals, and I gave her one smack with my fist some way. I don't know how I did it. And we never had another fist fight or anything after that. Daddy was a good dad. My dad was a lot of fun. My dad was a good man. I never saw him ever drunk. I never saw him out of Tex. He would smoke if he wanted to smoke. Maybe he'd smoke a couple of cigarettes, but never in the house. I don't even remember him smoking, but Ruth said that he did on occasion. And she had a closer relationship to him after they were divorced than I did, because Ruth and Keith did a lot of the same type of entertaining that Daddy had. He liked to have a social drink once in a while. I never saw my dad ever out of line, ever. I've never seen him drunk. I've never seen him out of line. I've never seen him do anything wrong as far as that goes. But he liked that type of lifestyle. So that's what split. Let's see, my Grandpa Jones, he was very good to my mother, I thought. And I can remember him coming up. He was an engineer on the UP Railroad. He was an engineer, and he was he was a good manager with money, and he had some properties, and he would come up and see Mother a lot. And then they also did live in the main big home, but then they sold it when he married Aunt Carrie, what we called Aunt Carrie, because Aunt Carrie was the only grandmother I knew on my mother's side, because my mother's mother died when she was about 16. And I never got to know her, neither did Ruth. We didn't know anything about her. But her name was Annie Sims. That was Grandpa's first wife. And then he married what we called Aunt Carrie, and that was his second wife. Well, I was almost 17 when I graduated. And you couldn't get into the University of Utah until you were 18 at that time. So I went to work, and my first job was Sears Roebuck, and I was secretary to the farm implement manager, Mr. Robinson, and a lot of really good farm implement salesmen that I became very good friends with. And I worked there for 3 years. Then I decided I'd save my money to go to school up to the U for, I thought, 2 years. Well, it was like I blew it in 1 year, but I was working part-time at the same time I was going to school at the Parish Company. And I was a clerk in the hosiery department. And I met this Mr. Dreyfus who owned it, and he was very nice, and he wanted me to do some modeling, and I said no. At the Parish Company while I went to school, and for 1 year at the U, and I had a ball. It was great. I enjoyed it. I kept my grades up, but I really found out how dumb I was because I had B and A minus averages in high school, got up there and got in dumbbell English, and I wasn't going to stay there, I'll clue you. So I got out of that real fast, like in 2 months, 2 or 3 months, I can't remember which it was, and then I went on to bigger and better things. That's about it. Well, I met a guy that I thought I was in love with him, and sent him on a mission. His name was Jack Call, and I sent him on a mission, and he wanted to get married, and I said, no way, and keep it a secret, you know, that type of thing. I said, no way, Jose. So then I did take a ring, and for 8 months I was engaged to him, and then I gave him a Dear John letter because I was not getting along with his mother, and I figured the family that you get into is you marry into that family, and his mother just thought I was a very evil person. And so when I gave the ring back to his dad, he was just in tears, and he says, oh, don't do this to him. And I says, I'm not doing anything to him but giving him his choice. I said, and I've given him myself the choice of when I will stay, I will be here when he comes home. And if possible, if it works out and we've all done a better job of trying to get along, I said, that's fine, because his family really liked me, all but the mother, and the mother had picked out a special girl for him. And so we had some hard times together. I dated other people. He came home. I dated other people, and I was still dating other people. I mean, I was free. I'd given the ring back. I was not going to take it back. And that was my first experience of having a missionary go. And I just thought to myself, you know, I've put myself in a position where I'm stale. Nobody knows I'm even around anymore. So then I went to work for the telephone company. And I worked really hard at the telephone company. I loved it. I was there until I met uh, Frank Matheson. Frank Matheson also was called on a mission while I was going with him, and he went to the same mission, uh, Western Canadian mission, that Jack had gone to. And meanwhile, Owen, I didn't know this because I didn't know Owen before he left before his mission. He was out in that same field. So it was kind of like a triangle. And it was kind of, I said I would not wear Frank's pin because that settled me in again, and I wasn't going to do that. And I gave the same alternative to him if I was home, fine, but that I wasn't going to sit around. Mom, when I told Mom I was going to get married, she thought I would marry Bud, which was Frank Matheson, and she was all for him. Let me clue you, but he knew how to charm her, and I really did like his family. I loved his family. They were so good to me, and I just had the opposite with the one before, and I thought, do I love him or do I love his family? And I couldn't, and I really did like Bud. I had a lot of fun with him, but we called him Bud. But there was just something there that I just wasn't going to take a pin and get pinned down again, like an engagement. And, but he wanted me to hold this pin. I said, I'll hold their pin until you get home and you can come and get it and we can decide what's going on then. But I said, I'm not wearing it. So I'm not going to not go out. I am going to go out. And then I got a letter from the mission president. He was really kind of cute. It was a letter about, you're the triangle of these 3 good missionaries. Thank you. And I thought, Owen came home and I met him at Saldair. We used to go to the big band era bands, and went to the to Saldair with Mutt Brown, and he happened to know Owen, or Owen thought he knew him anyway, and he came over and he said, well, who you with? Meaning he wanted to be introduced. So that's how we met. Owen lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and he would come up on the weekends. His family was up here on the weekends. And so he started lining me up. And I said, now wait a minute, I'm not just going to go with you on weekends. I said, I'd go with other guys too. So we just would date, and then when he came up, if I didn't have a date, then I went, and then it got to be a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. He kept coming up and coming up. Finally, he moved up, and we got pretty. I was working at a telephone company, and I had all the hours that I wanted because I had a little bit of seniority there, and I could do just about what I wanted to do as a long distance operator. And
how long did you date?
We dated for a year, about a year and a half. I think it was about a year and a half. And then he got serious, and I got serious. The New House Hotel, it's where, it's not even there anymore. Anyway, we went to the New House Hotel, and then we went to, I think it was Covey's, or else it was the Rainbow. I don't know which one it was. Then we went to the Rainbow, and he proposed to me at the at the dinner table.
Did he get down on one knee?
Huh?
Did he get down on one knee?
No. Well, we were too old for that.
How old were you?
I was 22, just about 22, and he was 25. 2, 3, 4, 5. From the time I was 16, I was going to get married in the temple. That was my whole goal. I was not going to get civil marriage. I wanted a temple marriage. So I kind of worked toward that. Mother, when I told her I was going to get married, she said, well, I wanted to kind of see you get married. Mother and Dad never did get married in the temple. My dad took the wrong area. So and Mother, she said that she said, well, she wanted to see me married, and I said, well, there's one way you can do it. Mother was a good person. I don't know why she couldn't have gone and had her own endowment without me, but she didn't even think that way, I guess. Her folks were married in the temple. Both my grandparents were married in the temple, but I guess it just didn't dawn on her. I don't know. But anyway, I said, well, there's only one way I'm going to get married, Mom. I said, I'll see you at the temple, or I'll see you after the temple when I come out. And she says, what do you mean? I said, well, why can't you go get your endowment? And she said, I don't know. She went, she got an endowment, she went out, and she was a missionary, stake missionary, and so she was a good person. She was a real good person. Always went, every Sunday we went up to their house. It was a must. Every Sunday we had to go to their house for dinner, and I'd go out in the rhubarb patch, and she'd always cook rhubarb, but salt it and eat it, like celery. I could eat that.